It's a holiday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Summer day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait there. You don't want to go to the beach? When last have you been able to carry your mother, father, uncle, auntie go to public beach? Hey! Jamaica, this week on Unfiltered, we need to access or we need to really probe. Are we able to go to public beaches? Will there ever be more or will there ever be public beaches available in the next 10 years? Or will Jamaica privatize all its beaches? That's a discussion we need to have. Because when I look at Alligator Pond, 37 acres of land to be privatized. When I look at License Beach, when I look at Puerto Rico, all private developers have been able to take over public beaches. We need to scope and we need to probe. Is it constitutionally right for a government to be selling beaches to private developers? Is Jamaica the only country that this is happening in? Is this happening in Barbados and Trinidad? Or is the rights of citizens being breached constitutionally by yet successive governments? I don't know about you, but every Jamaican should have right to beaches. Beaches are public right. Not like some other citizens that they just come and just take over and say this part of a place belongs to Tom Brown. Hotels shouldn't have access to beaches like that. Public beaches, all beaches across the island belongs to Jamaicans. Do you know that? But in recent times, in recent years, Tom Brown, Harry, Dick come and just take up lands and no longer Jamaicans have right to those beaches. But on this episode of Unfiltered, holiday we go call it, we need to, I wonder if Roger want to take a swim on the beach. We're going to ask Roger his take on access to public beaches. Is it constitutional? What are we doing as a country? And where should we go with public beaches? Stay tuned. Jamaica, in 2017, NEPA listed 86 beaches. 86 beaches basically as free beaches. But the reality is Jamaica, despite them being known as free beaches, people still have to be paying to access them. Roger, what's your take on this?
I don't think anything in life is free. Jamaicans tend to love free. Everything is free, but nothing in life is free. I think for us to upkeep the beach, for us to ensure that it is viable for others, and we also know our tendency to destroy property, right? So I think you having access by virtue of paying a small fee is not an unreasonable ask.
But the thing is, despite us having this amount of beaches, we have never seen to have really done land reform and beach reform from as way back as 1956. So even when we got independence as a nation, we never probe, we never go to the place to say, how do we reform our beaches so that every Jamaican citizen can have access to them? When I look at other Caribbean countries and other countries on a whole, nationals are able to have access to beaches. Why is it that in our jam down, the Jamaica land we love, ordinary residents can't have access to the beach? To the point that there are some beaches that even when they become privatized, there are days that Jamaicans can't go to the beaches, Jamaica. Oh, sorry, today is a tourist day. What kind of nonsense is that? That a man can come and privatize a beach and a Jamaican can't have access to the beach?
That is not fair though. That's not fair at all. Because in the case I think that you're pointing to are those resort beaches. And I say resort loosely because it has to do with the fact that these resorts are owners of land adjoining to the beach.
No,
right?
But this particular beach in St. Anne doesn't have a resort or don't have an hotel attached to it. It's actually a public beach that has been privatized. And becoming privatized, they actually have a day. Didn't you see the clip where they were saying, sorry, sir, today is limited. I think it's on a Thursday, I believe, is limited only to tourists.
So that's one day out of the week.
One day out of the week. There shouldn't be that kind of inequality in our system.
It is privatized. In other words, it is profit-based. And if it is that, we have to look at upkeep of the beach, which in this case is going to be the responsibility of a private actor, then you have to understand why it is that one day out of 7 days, we would limit access to the beach in order for tourists who are paying people who are going to take far better care of the environment and are even
and that is, let me stop
to be
it.
allowed to do
you know, that's a form of discrimination, Roger. So you are saying that a tourist is going to keep the environment way more safer and cleaner than an ordinary Jamaican? You're rude.
I'm going to say
you are rude, and that is why Jamaica can't be a better.
Jamaicans. Talk to the rude Jamaicans who are also nasty Jamaicans.
But tourists equally nasty too. Look how much tourists you see all over Jamaica exploiting and loitering the place. There's no difference between tourists, black man, brown man, any man. You're going to talk about cleaning. Cleanliness is next to godliness, and it's many Jamaicans who have to go on the same beaches and clean them up. You're rude and crude. Jamaica, this is a kind of established system that is mashing up this country, where we believe that because you're a tourist, you should have rights over the national. I'm not of that view. Andre. And I don't, no, Roger. You should refrain from saying such a ludicrous act, because
Andre,
the truth be told,
it's a tourist dollar that is feeding you and I.
Who feeding who?
It's a tourist dollar that we all depend on hand and mouth in this country. Right? So I don't understand how all of a sudden you are flipping the script to be anti-tourist. Without tourists, we have very little to hold on to.
And I am saying
be nice to them. Be
in
kind
an
to
ecosystem.
Them. Give leeway to them.
So I'm saying in an ecosystem, you don't need to have a separate day for tourists versus nationals. You should actually have...
Absolutely not, because we also know the tendency of Jamaicans in tourist areas to harass tourists. It's documented as fact. Even in areas where they are authorized to engage, such as crafts market, there are issues with harassment. We tend to harass our guests. We tend to harass our visitors. We cannot have them mixing. It's just not going to work.
So you're saying, Roger, that we have a state failing each day, morning, noon, and night, that you're saying that ordinary Jamaicans are harassing tourists, and because of such, you are ostracizing Jamaicans to have access to public beaches.
One day out of the week for one particular beach. Come on. Be reasonable, Jamaica. Be reasonable.
I see that as discrimination. I don't know about you, Jamaica.
There's positive and negative discrimination.
Yes.
In this case, for Jamaica's benefit, it's a positive discrimination.
What positive?
Because it is going towards our bottom line. It's helping the economy. And in a case where we have a variable that is largely problematic, we have to take the variable out. It's not a negative discrimination.
And Jamaica, that's where I differ from Roger. Not because you see Jamaicans who you determine as being harassing your tourist. You are therefore ostracizing every Jamaican to have access to that beach. I think we need to zoom in and zone in on whether or not we need to do more in terms of constitutional reform for this country. Not just limiting it to beaches, but constitutional reform in terms of land access, constitutional reform in terms of housing solutions, constitutional reform in every facet of society that Jamaicans can have that liberation to life. This discussion will continue and we'll get a legal perspective from it. Stay tuned. Yes, Jamaica. So we are going to dissect a bit further with noted attorney at law, Miguel Lorne. Mr. Lorne, welcome.
Yes, greetings and blessings. Blessings to all that are
Thanks for joining us. So, Mr. Lorne, what is your take on the right to Jamaicans having access to our beaches?
Well, clearly, I'm of the view that much more people, the public, ought to have, clear access to our beaches here in Jamaica. The people ought to have the right to go to the beach for recreational purposes, relaxation purposes, and for those who want to go and fish. Over time, gradually, we're seeing that right is being eroded, and we're seeing where for commercial entities, especially for guest houses, hotels, other recreational centers and so on, that gradually they are restricting access to the beaches. Even the public now, the government, the agencies and so on, what they are doing in some instances, they too are charging a fee for the public to go to some public beaches. Now this is permitted by law. Yeah, you can do that under the Beach Control Act and so on. You can do that. But what I'm saying, their excuse is that they need finances to keep the beach clean, to maintain the bathing area, to maintain the, the use of toilets and other facilities. That's the reason that they give. But some or other, you go on the beach nowadays, and it can be coincidence that you're seeing more people, you're seeing less black people, put it that way.
Mr. Lauren, always good to have you on Unfiltered. I would like to go back a little bit to the law issue, because based on the Public Beaches Act, this is an act that happened even before Jamaica's independence, right? Why is it such a big issue now? It has been around even before Jamaica became independent. Why is it such a big issue in the year 2022?
I think generally, why probably such a big issue, because of the land adjoining the beach, the land going out into the sea and so on, as stipulated in the law, it's really part of the Crown land. That the Crown is the one that actually owns that area. And as our nation becomes more conscious, as people become much more aspiring towards genuine independence and so on, you're resisting almost anything when you hear that is the Crown owns it. Whether it's land, whether it's foreshore land, whether it's beach area, you really don't think that the Crown has any right to be owning anything. Then now, what we see, although it is long before independence, what we see now is the expansion and the privileges given to the tourist sector. This is given under the guise that they are the number one money earner for the country at the moment, and so on. So it irks us. It boils in us now to see that the more you give that right to the commercial sector, especially the hotels and so on and so forth, you are seeing more Caucasian people enjoying that sector and therefore enjoying the beach.
So do you see this as a form of discrimination to our own people?
It is, definitely. It turns out that way. It might not be actually said so, or it might not be written so, but the practice now of this behavior is that you are seeing more and more Caucasian enjoying, especially the better beaches.
Wow. So Caucasians, tourists on a whole, enjoying the luxury of some of the best beaches in Jamaica, while ordinary Jamaicans...
Mr. Lauren, isn't discrimination a sensational terminology though? Given the fact of how important an economic activity tourism is to Jamaica, and the fact that we sell sand, sea and sun, and the preservation of this environment is critical to the longevity of the business, that it will be protected by government and other interests?
A lot of time when we say beach, we're thinking of North Coast, and we're thinking of purely mainly tourists and so on. But that beach from Harbour View to Port Royal on the left-hand side of the Palisados Road, that beach there. Now, that's a very, very important beach. But you don't have the government keeping it clean. There are areas where you can run at least a good 300-400 meters on the sand. So when you run 300-400 meters on the sand, or you run a 400 meters on the sand, you can work out how fast you will go when you come and land. Now that's a simple beach to keep clean. But so, because it's pure, as you know, it's pure people, it's black people, it's pure grassroots people using that beach. It's not kept properly at all.
So you're saying that for those public beaches, government needs to do more to maintain it?
Absolutely, because that beach I mentioned from Harbour View going all the way up to Port Royal on the left there, we tend to run from Harbour View to Lighthouse, but a lot of other persons go straight up to Port Royal. That can be maintained quite simple. A backhoe, a bulldozer can go and clean it once a month, something like that. And so it don't take a lot, it's not a lot of cost. So, but like I said, it depends on who's using it.
So what we're looking at though is therefore that the Tourism Enhancement Fund and NEPA needs to collaborate more in seeing to it that these beaches that are of less economic value can become greater value to the citizens of Jamaica.
Absolutely. That's what must be realized. That firstly, it should be of greater benefit to the people of Jamaica. And any commercial aspect must be secondary to the use by the people of these areas.
But the commercial aspect for them is prior to Mr. Lorne, because it's through the commercial activities that they will get the additional revenues that is needed to keep Jamaica alive. Because for you, as you said earlier, and even Roger posited, tourism is the main economic driver for Jamaica. So for them, keeping these luxury beaches as priority over these substandard beaches will continue to be the order of the day. How are we going to change that?
All right, let's for example compare to Barbados. Barbados, their mainstay is tourism also. They go out of their way that if you own a beach, if you own land surrounding a beach, or you have a hotel or so, and it adjoins with the beach and so on, they insist that you ought to have a public way that the public can walk through your land to go down to the beach.
Oh.
So I don't see that in Jamaica, because there are a lot of beaches that I don't think the public have access to in Jamaica.
So Mr. Lorne, what you're describing in the Barbados scenario, equally the similar jurisdictions in Cayman.
Yes, you have to provide access to the public to the beach.
So basically you're saying that Jamaicans politicians and the powers that be lack the political will to do what is right to benefit the citizens of Jamaica.
Yes, it's not just a political will, because both sides tend to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Successive governments have failed to see to it that the citizens can benefit from access to public beaches in that sense.
Yes.
So
yes, they haven't been doing it at all.
So if that's the case, how do we fix that?
But Mr. Lorne, if I may, the context of Barbados and Cayman, for example, from a security point of view, is also an issue that we need to look at, right? So we have an issue to do with the seas and issues of crime, the guns for drugs trade, and we know even from recent articles published the issues of dangers with beaches and beaches that are unprotected, right? So we have an issue with security. We also have an issue with the Jamaican mentality and behavior. Linked to the beach are issues of harassment. Linked to the beach are issues of general indiscipline. And added to the issue of the guns for drugs trade, the crime that the water poses. Isn't it therefore not surprising that that the kinds of laws we have protect owners, and also restricts the Jamaican individual or Jamaicans from accessing the beach, given what we are prone to do. Destroy the beach, do criminal activity on the beach, but also anticipate guns from off the seas.
I don't think. All right, let us start with the harassment. Jamaica beaches don't have more people harassing you or harassment than these other countries that I have traveled to throughout the Caribbean. I've been to Antigua, St. Lucia, Barbados, and all these countries. You will always find people going on the beach trying to sell their craft items and other little items and so on. And I see it here in Jamaica. Jamaica tend to react because we have some security that tend to want to manhandle the people. But it's not overt in Jamaica than the other islands that I have seen. In terms of the guns for drugs trade, once you have open beaches, open borders as it were, where people can sail from one country to the other quite comfortably, you know. So you find, in some cases, drugs, in some cases, guns, and so on. You know, because in the 70s, when I went to a lot of these Caribbean islands, if you have one murder for the year, you have a lot. Now, almost all of them is having several murders, and it's gun murders. So guns are coming from all over the place now. And in those islands, where you can see an island from another island, but we have problems in those other places, yet they do not see the restriction of the beach as necessary to reduce the problems that they are having.
So, Mr. Lorne?
Yes.
We thank you for that discussion and for those responses, because it has shed way more light in the truth behind with the need for constitutional reform. Probably follow the prototype of Barbados, where Jamaicans can have equal access. We don't want to say because we have crime, it means that we need to prohibit. We're not because we have people, as you said, want to sell the craft items, you want to say that all Jamaicans are harassing. So thank you for that discussion, Sir Lorne, and we will keep in touch. So despite it being a holiday, I don't want for summer swing and bounce and this and that, the reality is these crown lands, the Queen, and she owned them. And because she owned them, me and you, Jamaica, can't get to go to the beach the right way. Because you have to go through government, and government have to go through private sector. It is just a domino effect. And then the truth be told, that kind of effect has a negative impact on the citizen, because the citizen's right to recreation is restricted. And if that right is restricted, why the people of Barbados, the people of Cayman, the people of Trinidad, and all across the Caribbean islands, why are those rights taken away from them? No, it's only Jamaica. So what makes Jamaica's jurisdiction so special? Because of lack of constitutional reform. Lack of constitutional reform that gives citizens the right to access to our beaches. But we need to get rid of that colonial structure that has been put in place from 1950 odd, 1956, thereabout, that the access to beach wasn't a free right for every Jamaican. And because of that, they have invoked their system and their bylaws, and these bylaws have seen to it that ordinary Jamaicans don't get a piece of the pudding, which is the beach. But then they come with this little argument. Oh, there is a problem of crime and violence. Tell me which country you go and there is no crime and there is no violence. Not because crime and violence is prevalent in our society, it means that Jamaicans should be denied. So because me, who is a good citizen, be denied because of a bad citizen, that's not a good argument. Don't come and tell me because of crime and violence and gun for drugs trade, you are not giving me right to something that I deserve. Then you come and say, oh, somehow not harass the tourists them too much. What's the difference between me and that tourist? What is the difference? If the tourists can come and benefit from sand, sea, and beach, I should have that equal opportunity to benefit. Those are situations that are affecting this country, and we need to remove that inequality within our system. Jamaica, I don't know about you. This holiday, me grandmother, me mother, me auntie, everybody, I go at some beach, go to summer swing. Until then, my name is Andre Stevens. This is Unfiltered. What good?